Welcome to Inmate Tea with AMP. I'm your host, April, joined by my co-host, Pig, the jailhouse lawyer, on the line. Today, we're joined by a mother with a story that is both heartbreaking and urgent. Her son, Eric Malloy, has battled mental health challenges since childhood and is now living with a severe traumatic brain injury he suffered while in custody. For the last 18 months, Eric has been confined in a hospital cell, completely disabled, with little to no access to the rehabilitation or medical care he so desperately needs. This conversation is about mental health, justice, neglect, and a system that has failed Eric and his family. It's also about a mother's unwavering fight to secure the care and dignity her son deserves.
How's my sunshine doing?
Hey, Mom.
Hey, honey.
Hey, how are you?
I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm doing good.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Welcome to the podcast, Donna. It's a pleasure to have you on. Pleasure to be speaking with you. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great, April. Thank you so much for having me on your podcast. I really appreciate you helping me get my son's story out there.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's start with kind of like background and early struggles as it deals with Eric. Can you start by telling us a little bit about Eric as a child, what he was like growing up, and when you first started noticing his mental health struggles?
Okay, I guess it would go back until when he was about 8 years old. He was diagnosed with ADHD, and then by the time he was 13, he was diagnosed bipolar, and then in his mid to late 20s, he was diagnosed with schizophrenia, and he also was out there self-medicating with street drugs. He's been in and out of mental health facilities dating back to when he was diagnosed with bipolar.
Okay.
Like Dorothy Dix and Good Hope and Holly Hills and so forth.
Yeah, and so you mentioned that he was in and out of mental health facilities from, I think, the age of 13, right?
Yes.
What was that experience like for you as a parent, watching him not receive the help he needed?
It's awful because I would actually have him committed, because if he was like in a manic episode, doing something that I felt was a danger to him or anybody else, I would have him committed, which was easy to do because he was underage at the time. But they would only keep him in for like 3 to 5 days, and to regulate his medications and so forth. I guess my insurance just wasn't good enough. He had Medicaid, so he'd be back out within 3 to 5 days. No matter how much I begged him to keep him longer, he needs to be in there longer.
Yeah.
After he turned 18, they told me I couldn't do nothing about it, so I had to start involuntarily committing him, going up to the magistrate's office and proving that he needs to be committed and so forth. And still the same thing. They'd cut him loose in like 3 to 5 days, and he'd be back out there.
Gosh,
and it was just
hard.
Yeah, I mean, I begged them, something bad's going to happen. You need to keep him longer. And they just never listened to me. Just never listened. Yes.
So, Miss Donna, when you were, as he was growing up and you were having him taken into these facilities and taken into custody, and they would keep him for 5 days, they never, gave you advice or guidance on how to assist Eric, how to help Eric progress, and how to help him overcome these fits or whatever, however he was acting. They never gave you no guidance or tried to help you progress his rehabilitation.
No, just told me to have him keep seeing his therapist and psychiatrist, and take his med, which he hated taking because they put him in a fog, and he started developing facial tics and stuff from him. So he'd spit them out.
Yeah.
He wouldn't take them, and it was just awful, just trying to get him through everything, and try to get him to understand that you have to take this medicine.
I've seen it in here, and I've seen it in the free world when I was out, and I know that people that are on this type of medication, to try to get them to take this medication is a struggle in itself. And then when you're experiencing your child going through this, and you're begging for help and you're getting no help nowhere, and you're doing your best to help them cope with what they're facing at the time, it's like your hands are tied. And then you're turning to the system, and the system is leaving you with no answers. You're feeling hopeless.
Yeah.
North Carolina mental health system definitely failed my son.
Donna, from your perspective, how did Eric's mental health struggles play a role in the charges that he's now facing?
Well, the night he was arrested, he showed up at my house, and my grandson, who was probably 14 or 15 at the time, and I was sitting outside, and a neighbor, acquaintance that used to stop by every once in a while was standing there talking to us. And my son showed up, and he didn't know this man, and that just freaked him out, and he thought, and my husband was upstairs sick in bed, and he wanted to see my husband. He thought my husband was being held upstairs at gunpoint and everything, and he was freaking out. And before I could get a hold of him and stop him and everything, he was gone, and so was my car. So I'm not sure if he took it, but I'm pretty sure he stole it. I called law because I wanted to get him stopped, and they found my car in Fayetteville, totaled, smashed into, I guess it went, a high-speed chase went on, and he was just out of his mind. He doesn't remember most of that night. How he remembered it was when the attorney sent him the discovery packet, and that's how I know a lot of it, because they sent me a copy of the discovery packet, and that's how my son learned truly by what he did, by what I told him in that discovery packet. He wasn't really even aware he had done anything.
Can you explain to us exactly what happened that night and what his charges are?
Well, he has a slew of charges, but the other counties, all because of his situation, him being severely disabled, they dismissed the charges. Okay. Wilson County is the only one holding on to the charges because that's where he had burnt the house down. So he has the first-degree arson because the cat was killed in the process.
Okay.
No human lives were harmed whatsoever.
All right.
And then he has like breaking and entering, how they stack on a bunch of other charges,
mm-hmm.
And there was a vehicle, I guess he stole out of Cumberland County, allegedly, I guess, that was parked in the woman's driveway of the house that he burnt down. So he got charged with stealing the vehicle,
Mm.
It's a slew of charges. They stack on a bunch of charges for the DA to be able to work to try to do a plea deal. But right now, a plea deal is not even, that's not going to help.
Yeah. So has he not been to trial as of yet?
No, matter of fact, he was declared incapable to proceed back in September of 2024. But the judge continued the court case until February 27th of 2025. At that time, then he ordered a review of his medical status in a 24-hour lockdown facility. And that's what we've done since February, is waiting for an available bed in a facility.
Yeah.
And this judge, all right, in open court, he ordered the review and so forth, 90 days. But he did not go ahead and formally file that order until April 2nd of 2025. All right, so it could be either 7 months Eric's been waiting for a bed, or 5 months, depending on the way you want to look at it.
Yeah.
And they just keep continuing. Now, the next court date is September 3rd. He's still in Central Prison Hospital, hasn't been moved to a facility to be evaluated, which they're not going to be able to do. But that's where I stand now.
You had shared that Eric was remorseful, and he even tried to write apology letters, right?
Yes, when I got his property from Wilson County Detention Center, in there was letters that he started to write to the victim, and he couldn't quite get through them. And before, when we could talk on the phone and have video visits before the overdose, he was just, and beside himself what he did.
Yeah.
He could not believe he did that, and he felt so bad. He told me he was trying to write her a letter and everything else. And I myself have wanted to go up to her and, express remorse and how sorry our family is that this happened to her at my son's hands, but the lawyer advised me against it.
Yeah.
So I haven't been able to speak to her.
Miss Donna?
Yes.
You just stated something that, our viewers, I don't think our viewers really understand how your son ended up in the situation he's in right now. Being incapable, we understand that he had a medical condition of mental health issues, but how he got to the state he is right now, could you please explain that to us, how he ended up at Central Prison in the hospital and, what took place for that to occur?
Okay. Well, the night he got arrested, first they took him to the hospital to get treated for burns and smoke inhalation, and then they brought him right to Wilson County Detention Center. Now, to me, I'm not a psychiatrist or a doctor or anything like that, all right? But even if I didn't know Eric's backstory, anybody that would set a house on fire with themselves inside of it has to have some mental health issues.
Yeah.
He shouldn't have even been brought to jail. He should have been brought to a mental health facility then. Anyways, he was in there since September 26, 2022. Either January 15th or the 16th in 2024, he overdosed. I'm not quite sure of the date because they did not call me. The only reason I found out about it was because he missed a video visit with me. So I got concerned and I called up there. And the Wilson County Detention Center told me that for his safety reasons, he couldn't do the video and visit. And I was like, well, what happened? What happened? And they wouldn't give me any information. So I knew of one of his cellmates. So what I did was put in a video request for one of his cellmates, and I got the story from him that drugs were smuggled in. So everybody in his little pod there took him, and Eric overdosed, and he was brought to the hospital. But evidently it took the guards a long time to come to check on what was going on with all the inmates were banging and everything else and calling for the guards when they noticed that Eric had OD'd. And they took their sweet time, and those minutes mattered. He wouldn't, just severely disabled.
So, do you know what kind of drugs it was that was smuggled in there?
Well, the tox screen that I got back, all right, and with his medical records that I requested, showed that he had fentanyl and THC in his system. It did not show any of his meds that he was prescribed because, knowing my son, he was not taking them. He was probably cheeking them and hiding. They are trying to say he attempted suicide, and that's not the case. I know my son, he did not. That was not an attempted suicide. That was an attempt of them, all the guys in that pod, trying to party for a night. And the way I feel about this whole thing, first of all right, is, like I said, he shouldn't have never been brought to that jail. He should have been brought to a mental health facility. And second of all, those drugs that got into the jail, all right, should never have gotten in there. They were brought in by two inmates that were being arrested for drug charges, all right? They weren't searched properly. All right, they don't have the Tech 84 body scanner at that jail, which every jail and prison should have, and I believe every new incoming inmate should have to go through. It's nothing more than an X-ray. It's not invasive, you know what I mean, like a cavity search is.
Yeah, and the Tech 84 would actually be able to detect anything if they would have, per se, put it up their rectum, whereas like a squat and cough or any other invasive procedure can still be tricked by incarcerated individuals that want to boost something that way.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. It could have. This whole thing could have been prevented so many different ways. You know.
Mm-hmm.
It just sickens me. he ended up at ECU Hospital in Greenville, and he was in a coma and everything, and he wasn't expected to survive. So at that point, the judge did unsecure the bond so that me and his sister could go visit him while we still could. But they had a condition. He had to wear an ankle bracelet. This is a man in a coma. They put an ankle bracelet. Okay. Well, my son, some miracle, he woke up. He opened his eyes, he woke up, and the judge had, when he unsecured the bond, said that to the victim, even if he so much as opens his eyes, the bond will be reinstated. And that's exactly what happened. As soon as he woke up, they reinstated the bond, and as soon as he was stable enough, which meant that they moved the trach from his neck and considered him stable, and they shipped him off to Central Prison Hospital. And that was February 22nd, 2024. And that's where he is right now.
When he was in the hospital, were you able to go visit him, talk to him while he was in a coma?
Yes. That's why the judge unsecured the bond. And at first, there was a guard on duty sitting in his room at all times. And then they put the ankle bracelet. He was only in the hospital from, like, the 15th or 16th of January until the 22nd of February, so like for about a month. He was in a coma at first, and then he woke up from the coma, and then they told me he was brain dead, and I said, I want a team of neurologists to confirm that. And after they examined him, they said, no, he's not brain dead.
Since the overdose, Eric has been held as, I think you said, like a safekeeper at Central Prison Hospital.
Yes, Wilson County Detention Center, naturally it's a jail. It doesn't have any medical facilities.
Okay.
So what they do is they send anybody like Eric to Central Prison Hospital, and they put him in a status of safekeeper. In that status, he can't get any rehab resources that Central Prison has to offer. He needs a whole heightened level of care than Central Prison has to offer in the first place. But he can't even get access to anything they have because he's a safekeeper. They won't even walk him down a hallway. Like, it would take two people, but they can't do that.
So that's what I was going to ask. Do you know, like, what his daily life looks like there?
Oh, yeah, because I fought for it because he couldn't do the normal visitation things, like the video visits. They cut me off on the video visits in October of, 2020. He was pepper sprayed, and I was filming the video visits on my camera for my own personal, so I could look at them and see them. I never thought I would have to use it in court or anything like that. But they pepper sprayed him, and the guard is off camera saying, yeah, he was pepper sprayed because he was aggressive.
Can you see me?
Yeah. No.
Oh, you can't see either one of us?
No.
But you can hear us, right?
Yeah.
Okay, well, at least you can hear us.
Yeah.
How are you? Can see your mama. I can see your mama.
I got a fucking blind.
Right.
Fucking blind.
Okay, I get it. Because I'm blind?
Yeah.
You can't see?
You're blind?
No, he just got pepper sprayed.
Why did he
Why did he get pepper sprayed? That's something you're going to have to call the liaison. I just came on the floor. Wow.
Who do I have to call?
The liaison, and you can speak with her about it.
Okay.
Wow.
No, I'll call her.
Wow.
How
It had to be some type of aggressive behavior in order for him to be pepper sprayed. You able to tell us what happened?
No.
You don't remember, or you can't?
No.
I'm so sorry, Eric.
Now, I don't know how aggressive somebody that can't even stand up or can't move their arms can be. He has very little mobility, you know what I mean? He might have been yelling or thrashing around or something, but all they had to do is take a couple of steps back. They were in no danger, and they went ahead and pepper sprayed him, So, but shortly after we showed the judge the video, there was no more video visits. So they tried the in-prison visits, and he wasn't able to pick up the telephone and hold it to his ear. So that wasn't working. So finally they allowed us to have visits inside his hospital/cell room, and we see him every Friday, except on the ones that they say he refuses his visit. And I don't know why he'd refuse, but they say he refused. Like yesterday, we went up to go visit him, and they called just before we got there and said he refused. So to answer your question, in his day-to-day, what I see when I go up there on Fridays and he doesn't refuse and I get in there and see him, is he sits in a chair. They have a little TV up in the corner that he can barely see because his eyesight is going. And he just sits in the chair all day and waits for meals, and a nurse has to feed him naturally because he can't feed himself. And that's it. He goes from a chair to a bed, and that's it.
If Eric is in this state, he can't use his arms, he can't use his legs. He's sitting here pretty much induced by whatever medications they're giving him, for one. For two, he's immobile and he has to have assistance to move around. How can he even refuse a visit? Because you're going up to the room. How is his ability when you go in and see him, ma'am? And this is something that's really bothering me, because he's got to verbally state, I've been in prison 20 years, and I know that if you do not want to visit, you got to go and verbally state to the captain or the lieutenant of visitation that you do not want to receive a visit from that person. Not showing up is not acceptable, because you will receive an infraction. Here at this facility where I'm at right now, they will literally come and get you to go to your visit. Not showing up is not acceptable. So when they say, oh, Eric is not willing to receive a visit today, how is he saying that he's not willing to receive a visit?
He can speak a couple of words. Like, he can say yes or no. But with traumatic brain injuries, they're very susceptible to suggestion. So I'm not sure if they just don't want to bother with the visit, so they say to him, Eric, you don't want to visit today, do you? Things like that, which he would say no. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, Miss Donna. And, I'm looking at it as, with a traumatic brain injury, he's almost as a child. His way of thinking and his way of communicating is as a child. You're having to deal with him as you would deal with a young child that don't have the ability to make decisions for themselves. And you're trying to teach them how to make decisions for themselves. So you got nursing staff or maybe an officer that's going in there manipulating the situation, as you just said. Eric, do you want to have a visit today? Your mom's coming to see you. Now, I'm a mama's boy, and I'm pretty sure Eric is too. If you're telling me my mom's coming to see me, I'm going to want to see my mom, man.
Exactly. Exactly.
So, in this situation, ma'am, there's no way I wouldn't want to see my mama. And if he knows that you're coming to see him, ma'am, there's no way he's going to refuse to see you. I don't care what nobody says. So these people are manipulating the situation, and I know this because I've been in here a long time and it's happened.
We think it's happening, but we can't prove it.
Yes, ma'am.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if I mentioned, I received guardianship of Eric on April 18th of 2024. And I was told by them up there at Central Prison, that don't mean nothing to us. You know what I mean? Like, it's ridiculous. Like, I became a guardian so that I could be his voice.
Yeah.
So I could get the information that I need. And it's just like a piece of paper. It's almost like a restraining order. You know what I mean? People don't abide by those either. It's just a piece of paper.
Yeah.
Miss Donna, for you to be where you're at today in this fight to help your son, we understand what he's locked up for is serious.
Oh, very serious.
there's a line that needs to be drawn here. When you're dealing with somebody that has a severe medical issue, and you know the fact that these drugs were smuggled into the jail, yes, they made them squat and cough. Maybe they're using the same procedure they're using in prison, making them bend over, and their anal cavities observed with a flashlight by an officer. We don't know. But
Right.
that still does not negate the fact that these drugs got into the prison, and when your son was in the custody of the jail, it was their duty to keep your child safe. It was their duty to make sure your son come in and stayed in the same condition, or if not better condition, than he was the day that he entered the jail. It's for corrective purposes. And
thought he was safer when he went into the jail. I was like, okay, this is bad, very bad what happened, but at least he's safe now, you know?
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
They did charge 2 men for smuggling in the contraband and distributing to inmates.
Yeah.
But I really don't know what has happened to them. Every once in a while I check to see if they have a court date. I haven't seen any court dates, so I think they've served their time and moved on.
Yeah.
Miss Donna, let's switch gears here and focus on the process of actually getting Eric some medical help and actually getting Eric justification for how they've handled the situation, because this was perpetuated by the jail. I mean, this is a result of lack of care, a lack of attention by the jail. This was brought on. Yes, Eric was a drug addict. So if you know Eric does drugs, there's a history of him doing drugs. There's a history of him having a mental health condition. So, you know, the jail, they have a duty to know all these things when they lock somebody up.
Right.
So when they're felling the inmate, when they lock them up and they put them in these areas, as you said, he should have been put to a mental health facility.
Exactly.
Okay, now, being that you've addressed all this stuff, man, where is the ability to file a grievance on the jail? Because your grievance is your first access point to enter the courts. That's for one. For two, have you found a valuable attorney that will assist you in getting justification for Eric and getting Eric the proper medical care he needs and getting him to a facility that can facilitate the proper medical care that he needs?
Nope. The attorney that we have now that was appointed right after he was arrested, I'm lucky if he'll return my calls. You know, it's very seldom that I talk to him. He has me doing like most of the legwork, like when he wanted medical records, it was me having to get them. And this attorney he gets up there and he says a few words and then says, what day does it continue to? You know, and that's about it. He's questioned me and my daughter on the stand, and you know, and I begged the judge to unsecure his bond or dismiss the charges with or without leave. You know, if they dismiss him with leave, they can be refiled. You know, I would like nothing more than to see my son walk into that court and face those charges. All right, but he's never going to recover. Prison hospital with no rehab. He's getting worse by the day. I mean, the difference between that video back in October when he got pepper sprayed, the difference between then and now is unbelievable how far he has gone downhill.
Goodness.
You know, so, and it's the way his Eighth Amendment rights are being violated, along with God knows what other rights. People have been telling me to check into the 4th and the 14th amendments because
your Eighth Amendment right, ma'am, guarantees you the right of treatment and the proper medical care for health care. Your Eighth Amendment right protects you from excessive bail, which you're saying your son's being held on with a $500,000 bail, which would require you to pay $59,000. And it protects you against deliberate indifference. Deliberate indifference is they know your son has a medical condition. It is pertinent I mean, they're having to deal with it every day. And they're failing to put him in a facility that's going to give him the proper medical care. Okay, your Fourth Amendment gives you due process, which is the Fourth Amendment is not for the state. So that's where the 14th Amendment comes in, because the 14th Amendment guarantees you due process in county jails and state facilities. So he's not receiving due process because he's not receiving the proper medical care. And as you just said, his health from the date that they sprayed him with this mace on video to the date of this interview, he has declined dramatically. Instead of him improving due to the health care that he's receiving at Central Prison, he's declining because he left ECU Hospital and went to Central Prison. The care and the quality of care he was receiving at ECU Hospital was at a higher level and a higher standard than he's receiving at Central Prison, because Central Prison does not have the facility to provide him with the proper medical care. That is
basically all they do.
Good attorney.
Yes, so
Ma'am?
him being at Central Prison, he's a safekeeper, so he's actually not provided medical treatment at Central Prison, right?
Well, he'll be provided medical treatment, not rehabilitation.
Okay.
No rehabilitation resources whatsoever. I mean, if he has a cold or something like that, they'll give him, some cold medicine. They take care of his daily needs. They feed him, they wash him, they change his diaper.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
They move him from the chair to the bed.
I commend you in your fight, and not giving up.
He's my son. I love him. I'm never giving up. And then my daughter will take over. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If something happens to me, she'll take over. We're not giving up on him.
Yeah.
As a human being, no matter what he did, he doesn't deserve to be treated like this.
Yeah.
And just locked up and throw away the key and just keep continuing. I feel like they just keep continuing this court date, and maybe he'll die, and that will be the end of it. That's how I feel. Wilson is a very tight-knit community, and when I'm in court, I watch the victim kidding around with the DA and the reporter from the Wilson Times that always talks to her, even though I have left messages for him to, if you want to hear all the story, please contact me, but he won't call me. So it's just, I'm not sure if they're friends and whatnot. Like I said, Wilson's a very tight-knit community.
That's why we're happy to be able to let you come on our platform and tell your side of the story. I mean, both sides have a story to tell. Nobody knows your son. Nobody knew your son's issues. You're his mother. You've seen him go through this from childhood all the way up. Mental health played a big part in this, and mental health is something that is, it's rampant in the country, in the United States and all over the world. Mental health is an issue that should be addressed every day, always. But it's something that a lot of people turn a blind eye to because they do not want to accept that stigma. So, that I feel like that's something that's going on with Eric's case, the fact that they don't want to look at the bipolar, the schizophrenia, the fact that you can actually have a meltdown and do something that you're totally remorseful for. I don't know your son, but from talking to you and the way you said he was writing those letters, trying to express his level of remorse for what he did, I mean, that's the beginning of trying to make amends for something you did. You can't take it away, but you're willing to accept your punishment and the punishment.
Oh, he was willing to accept whatever came his way when he found out everything he did.
Yes, ma'am.
I mean, he was hoping for the best outcome, like a decent plea deal, but unfortunately, he overdosed.
And today, anybody that's listening to this podcast, we ask that if there's an attorney out there that could possibly help Miss Donna and her family, to contact us or contact Miss Donna. She does have a Facebook site where she's advocating for her son also, you know, we're going to try to have Miss Donna to set up a GoFundMe, and, you know, anybody that's willing to donate a few dollars to help her with her back and forth to Central Prison and her fight in getting her son the proper medical care. I mean, this is something that it's really important that people understand. We all make mistakes. We've all done wrong. And she's not saying that she don't want her son to face the charges. She's just saying at this time, her son is in a fight for his life.
Exactly.
And he needs proper medical treatment. If her son walks out of that hospital and is able to dictate and move and carry on with his life, she wants him to be accountable for the crime that he committed.
Exactly.
That's not what Miss Donna is saying. Miss Donna is saying she wants the proper medical treatment for her son to make it possible where he can stand trial for the crimes that he committed.
Mm-hmm. And the longer they wait, the worse he gets.
Yeah.
So, you know what I mean? I don't know how they expect recovery when they just keep continuing the case.
So, Donna, for the families listening that they may be going through something similar, what would you want them to know? What would you like to tell them?
It's first that I'm very sorry if you're going through anything like this. It's heartbreaking, and I'm sure anybody going through this is not sleeping and just totally consumed with trying to get their loved one the help they need. I wish I could offer advice of resources, but to be honest with you, I've emailed every politician and every advocacy group I can think of, and I've yet to be responded to. You know, media, y'all are the only ones that reached out to me.
Yeah.
You know, but I'm not saying for them not to do it. Contact the governor of your, state. Contact the lieutenant governor, the DOJ. Contact them all like I'm doing, and keep contact, and maybe something will change.
And you've created a Facebook group for other families going through this where you can all kind of convene, correct?
Correct. It's called Fight for the Rights of Severely Disabled Inmates in NC.
Okay. All right. And we'll put that link down below for anybody watching that is going through this, that wants to help in any way, or, needs support in the same way that Donna does, that you can join this group with her and, share ideas on how to fight this. Donna, what message do you have for lawmakers or the Department of Corrections, anyone in a position of power who can help change Eric's situation?
Please, please, please help me get my son the proper care he needs. Please. Governor Josh Stein could do this. I know he could. If he could just look at the situation, and reach out to me. Emailed him several different times. Anybody in power to help me, please.
Yeah.
Please help me before it's too late.
Yeah. And you also have a petition started on change.org, right?
Oh, yes.
Okay.
Yes. And I think that right now it's like 28 signatures, something like that. But if we reach 100, they will, change.org actually will reach out to the governor.
Okay. All right. So anybody that's listening to this, we're going to put the link to that petition down in the comments. And please click the link, go in, sign it. It takes a few seconds, and it'll help Eric change his situation. So please look down in the description for all the links that we've mentioned. I want to thank you for joining us on this powerful episode of Inmate Tea with AMP. Eric's story is a devastating reminder that behind every case number is a human being. And behind every incarcerated person is a family that loves them. What has happened to Eric is not only heartbreaking, it's unacceptable. Denying medical care to someone so vulnerable is a violation of basic humanity and of the constitutional rights given to him. To Eric's mother, Donna, we want to thank you for your courage, your advocacy, and your love. And to our listeners, let this conversation be a call to action. Change doesn't come unless we keep shining a light on injustice. Until next time, I'm April and Pig, and this is Inmate Tea with AMP, where every voice matters and every story deserves to be heard.
Thank you both so much.